My name is Sam Day. I'm based in London, UK, and I'm an internet marketing consultant. So I consult individuals who either have an established business but want to create more of a presence online, or for entrepreneurs who already have a website or who already have an online presence but want to increase that. And search engine optimization, or SEO, is one of the things that I actually do on behalf of clients. Um, it goes from teaching them how to do it as well as implementing an SEO strategy for their website and for their YouTube channels and so on and so forth. So just to clarify, SEO, or search engine optimization, is the art of being found online. That's how I like to think of it. So whether you're trying to be found in Google, in Yahoo, on YouTube, or wherever it is, SEO is how you go about, kind of using the search engines to your favor and being found and being noticed.
Sure. So let's talk first about someone's personal site for their personal brand, maybe their portfolio. Walk me through how you would help them do SEO for it, optimize it for SEO.
Well, first I would ask them what it was that they want to be found for. So the primary thing that they want to be noticed for, and really comparing that to their competitors. So let's say, for example, you're a personal fitness trainer and you're trying to attract more personal fitness clients. Then the first thing to do really is to establish what kind of keywords people will be using to either search Google or Yahoo to find the products or the services that you're actually offering. And once you can identify those keywords that people are actually performing, then you can just perform those searches on Google, see who is already ranking on Google, on Yahoo, and see what your competitors are actually doing. And more often than not, you can see what your competitors are doing right. You can see where they're kind of missing the buck a little bit. And that's kind of the first step, to see what other people are doing and just jump on that bandwagon.
So, how do you advise people in finding the keywords that are right for their business?
There's a number of ways to find keywords. The first way is to use the Google Keywords tool, which is a free tool that Google provides. It's mainly for Google AdWords users. So if you wanted to spend money to actually promote your website on Google, then the Google Keywords tool is normally what you would use. However, the Google Keywords tool is actually free as well for you to use. Even if you're not an AdWords user, you can use that. So that's a great way to find particular search terms. So if we just go back to my example of if you was a fitness trainer and you typed in the words fitness trainer on the Google Keywords tool, Google will actually show you how many times that particular phrase gets searched for on Google. And also it will give you suggested keywords as well that are related to that search term, and it will show you how many times those keywords are being searched for. Another way is to actually just go onto Google and start typing in your keywords. So if you typed in fitness trainer in Google, what you might notice is Google tries to finish off your sentence for you or your phrase for you. And that's another way to really tell what people are searching for or what's popular, because Google will only suggest keywords that other people have previously typed in the past.
How do you advise people in terms of specificity for their keywords? Should they be general or really, really hone in on specifics?
In my experience, what I like to do is the homepage of your website should always be a keyword that is fairly either generic but specific to your particular niche. So, for example, as a marketing consultant myself, my homepage might have a keyword that is trying to rank for marketing consultant, and that's a very broad term. It's not specific. I'm not specifying a specific location. Like I could have said marketing consultant in London or SEO consultant. But the reason why I like to be quite vague on the homepage is because over time, your website, if you're doing the right things and you're consistent with your site, over time, your website is likely to rank higher in the search engines as you build authority and you build backlinks to your website. And if your site is optimized for a competitive keyword from the get-go, then once your site actually builds that authority, you'll begin to notice that you start ranking for keywords that you may not have ranked for in the beginning. However, you have other pages on your site, and hopefully if your site has dynamic content like a blog that you're updating frequently, you can use each and every blog article or each and every new page of your website as a new opportunity to actually rank for a different keyword. So for example, I might create a blog article that says how to perform SEO on your Wix.com website. And that for me is a new keyword. It's quite long. It's easier to rank for because it's what we call long tail, which means it has more than three words in the actual phrase. If it has less than 3 words, then it's what we call a short tail keyword, which might be training consultant or SEO expert or something like that. And those keywords that have only 1 or 2 words are normally quite difficult to rank for.
So what's the kind of good ratio between long tail and short tail keywords to aim for? How many of each?
I don't think there is really a formula. Personally, I would go after maybe more long tail than short tail, especially at first, because you're a lot more likely to rank. And as your website starts to build authority, then you can, try and rank for some of the more competitive keywords. However, you want to really be consistent with your site, really, blogging often and guest blogging, being a participant in related websites, related articles, being a participant on social media and getting social shares back to your website and stuff like that. So it's less really about how, whether you should go after a long tail or a short tail keyword in what one particular article, but it's more about the consistency. So you might do a short tail keyword once a week and then a long tail keyword 2 or 3 times a week in your blog articles.
Talk a little bit about the concept of building authority.
So building authority essentially is building an audience. So you're building a platform for yourself, literally, where you have influence, where you have a say. And especially with entrepreneurs who are starting with a small budget, this is a great way now to be seen and to be heard online. And even some of the bigger brands with bigger wallets are starting to adopt the concept of building authority and building an audience. It's also known as inbound marketing, where you're attracting people to your brand rather than outbound marketing, where you're trying to push your message out to your brand. So whereas, before we would see a lot of brands, and even now we see a lot of brands, using billboard marketing and television advertisement marketing, which is still effective. However, as a small entrepreneur, you should be creating great content through your articles, through your social media platforms, and people are drawn to great, genuine content, not just you talking about your brand and talking about your products. And yes, you can do that every now and again, but what you really want to be doing is content marketing, where you're truly providing value and attracting the types of people to your website who are likely to make purchases.
So for someone to improve the SEO of their website, how often should they be updating the site with new and fresh content?
I think they should be updating it as much as they possibly can. I think the key is consistency. So if you can only do once a week, then don't try and do 3 or 4 times a week. And then, because once you build a following, people are going to expect you to keep up with the 3 to 4 times a week. So be realistic with updating your site. You don't have to update it every single day, but you do have to have some sort of routine so that the search engines know when you're about to update or when you're likely to update, as well as when you build a following, they know when to come and check back to your blog articles as well.
I think a lot of people get really overwhelmed by the idea of starting a blog and maintaining a blog. So how do you kind of ease that overwhelm and communicate that it's not too bad?
Yeah, it can be quite overwhelming at first. And one thing that I would definitely recommend to help to ease the kind of the pressure is to look at a few case studies. There's a lot of great examples of great bloggers. There's Darren Rouse from ProBlogger.net. There's John Chow from johnchow.com. And these are examples of people who've literally started their blog from ground zero, who had 0 followers, and they managed to build a mass following of hundreds of thousands of people. And whenever you're feeling discouraged, or whenever you're feeling like, oh, this is not going anywhere, then definitely look online and see who can inspire you to say, look, if they can do it, then I can do it. And also to not be limited as well to your personal blog. Your personal blog is a great way to feed the search engine so that your website is found, but also go where your target audience is. So if you're speaking about business related topics, then start blogging on LinkedIn, or even on Medium. That's a new blogging platform that's coming into play as well. And you can always link to your website, even either in the bio section of your account, or within the content that you create, and that can help you as well with overcoming the obstacles of having a slow progress at the beginning.
For somebody who is doing SEO for a client, what tips would you give them to explain SEO to their client and manage their expectations?
I would reinforce the fact that SEO is not an overnight thing. Where you can have clients where you SEO their website and they're ranking for a term that starts bringing in clients almost automatically, but that's not a typical thing to happen for every single client. So to just be realistic and to really explain, have that conversation with your client about what search engine optimization actually is, and being realistic about the results as well. Also, I would leverage the fact that you can rank for quite localized keywords as well, because one thing that I've noticed is that bigger firms will have more generalized keywords. So whatever my client is trying to promote or to market, they normally want to compete for terms that are quite unrealistic, like really big firms are already competing for. Whereas where there's normally a gap in the market is the localized keywords, because the bigger firms are probably not going to target those specific areas, and the smaller firms probably don't have the SEO know-how to be targeting them anyway. So you could really be dominating in your local area.
Great. So you did have some questions that were brought up on your own videos about SEO that we wanted to chat about a little here. So one is, by changing the font type and size or the copy on a website, would it lower the site in search results?
It's a good question, and it really depends how you do it. There are sites that go overboard with changing the fonts and the size and the style of their text. What I would suggest to do is keep your text as simple as possible. So try not to write for the search engines, try to write for the end user, so that your website reads really well, because Google is moving a lot more towards websites that are user friendly, both on the mobile as well as on the laptop. And as new devices start coming out, like the smart watches and smart TVs and stuff like that, I'm more than certain that Google will be including that more and more in their algorithms as well. So whenever you're writing a piece of content for your website, it's important to make sure that you're writing for an end user and not for Google. That's not to say, however, when you finished writing, that you can't go back over your piece of work and look at where you can add headings or subheadings. And these headings and subheadings can have the keyword that you're trying to rank for that particular page within them. And you can make those subheadings bold, you can underline them, which is natural as well for you to read that in a text. And Google will also see that, okay, the fact that you've bolded and underlined these particular words must mean that they're important. So they will actually acknowledge that. And also within the body of your text as well, you might want to use italics for words that are either your keyword that you're trying to rank for, or what's known as a related keyword. So if it might not be the actual keyword you're going for, but it might be a related keyword, and just adding a small italic to those words within your text or within your page is a great way to just remind the Google bots when they come and crawl your website that, hey, these are the keywords that are relevant to my page. These are the keywords I want to be found for, without actually, harming the reading experience of your users.
So a good takeaway is write for a human, not for Google.
Yeah.
So next question from a viewer, which I'm sure all the webmasters watching this have heard many times, which is my website is still on page 3. Why?
Well, you could have, watched the video or, fully optimized your website in your opinion, and your website still appears on page 3. Um, Probably the likely cause is that the keyword that you're typing in to find where your website ranks is maybe too competitive. There may just be too many websites that have a greater authority than yours that are ranking above you, and there's not really much you can do about that other than trying to build your authority for your site. And that includes things, like your social media and getting inbound links back to your site. One of the great ways to do that is guest blogging. So, trying to contact bigger blogs who have a large following and asking them to write or contribute to their blog. Also, just really not slipping up on your social media game as well, because a lot of entrepreneurs will kind of detach their SEO from their social media, which is a mistake. Because Google looks a lot as well about, how well is your articles, is your website being shared. And another thing is, how long has your website been up? So if your website's only been up for a few weeks or for a few months, then your site is still new. You still need to put in more effort behind it, and it's not an overnight thing. It's a thing that's going to take time, and you might be ranking, but you might not necessarily know what keywords you're ranking for. So you might be ranking on the first page for a particular keyword, and you may not know it because you haven't searched that keyword yet. So again, that's going into the shoes, putting yourself into the shoes of your potential customer, what they might be typing in to find you, and what they might be typing in to find you might be different from what you first thought. So those are a few things. If you're finding that your site is still on page 3 or page 4 and you're getting frustrated with it, then focus your energies on those things, and you should be fine.
So what are other mistakes you notice people making with their SEO?
I think the most common mistake is probably neglecting their social accounts. A lot of webmasters, they know that they need to have a Facebook, they know that they need to have a Twitter account, and some of them will have an Instagram account, some of them will have a YouTube account, and they will just post updates about their business. So if they've moved to another office, they will post that on Twitter, or if they've reduced their price for, say, Black Friday or for Christmas, then they'll post that on Twitter. And they'll wonder why no one's buying. They're on Twitter, they're on Facebook, and no one's coming back to their site. And Google are not picking them up in the search engines. What's going on? Why is nothing happening? And what you want to do is actually have a conversation with people. And what I mean by that is, social media is called social media because it's supposed to be social. You're supposed to actually, speak to people through your content. You're supposed to reach people. It's more than just trying to sell your product or trying to promote your service. It's about creating a community of like-minded individuals who are passionate about your particular niche. And it doesn't really matter what product or service you're selling. You can create so much content around it and build a loyal following around it. And all we have to do is go onto YouTube and find, a beauty vlogger, like Zoella, or find a comedy vlogger, or anyone, and you can see that they've built, some of them, multi-million-pound businesses based on the community that they managed to build on social media. And companies and entrepreneurs are kind of lagging behind in some respects, because that's where we really need to be. Choosing the platforms, if your product appeals to females in their mid-30s or something like that, then you really want to be on Pinterest. You really want to produce content there that not just promotes your products, but actually offers value to that particular demographic. And once you offer value, then you'll start attracting those kinds of people to your Pinterest account. And a percentage of them will also want to see what your website is saying as well, what products you're offering. And they become not just customers, but fans of your brand as well. And so when you create these fans, they want to buy your products, not just because of the quality, but because of you as a person and because of you as a brand. So you're having people who are anticipating your products, and also they are a lot more likely to recommend your products as well, because they're passionate about the content you create and they're passionate about you. So one of the biggest mistakes that I find now with webmasters is they look at the mechanics too much of search engine optimization, which is important. It's important to have the right keywords. It's important to put the keywords in the right place and to optimize your website, effectively, but also not just to look at your views or your traffic as views and traffic, but to look at your views and traffic as people. Those are human beings, and it's very easy to forget that because we're living in a digital age, and it's easier to do that with a shop where you have customers coming in. But it's important to remember that these views are actually people, and they have passions and interests, just like anyone else. And if you can really appeal to their interests, then that's what's going to help you perform on social media. That's what's really going to help you to win at the end of the day in search engine optimization. That's what's going to get conversions to your website and sales. And as entrepreneurs, we all love conversions and sales.
That's true. So where can viewers follow you on social media?
At the moment, I'm producing quite a lot of content on YouTube. So my YouTube channel is DeyTips, or if you search for me, Sam Dey, that's Dey with DEY, then you can find weekly tips that I post on there about marketing your products and services online.
Great. Well, thanks so much for sitting with me today and having this really informative talk about SEO. It's super helpful.
Awesome. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you so much.